with the perfect record and puts him in the #1 seed, which is exactly where you want to be. Can see the previous achievements, top 4 in Knoxville and top 4 in Malaysia as well for regionals. So no stranger to the advancing through top 8 a gambit that has to go on, but obviously would be looking after such a strong Swiss showing to make it a finals or a champion appearance.
Yeah.
But going undefeated in our first regional back, absolutely huge. And being able to take that confidence in, got to be really important.
Yeah, and especially when Chongjun's achievements have been at the beginning of the Sword and Shield era, I think that's really special to see a player that has risen to the occasion during this new game on this new platform and has continued to take that to a top 8 here at Salt Lake City. That's really, really impressive.
It's definitely the kind of growth you want to see. We are going to look at the team as well. I don't think there's anything too surprising here. Gastrodon showed up yesterday in a couple teams, and I'm really enjoying seeing Gastrodon put in the work. But the Incineroar, the Groudon, the Charizard, Zacian, and then Gastrodon, Grimmsnarl going together. That is a pairing that if you can provide that Gastrodon some time, can put in a lot of work. So I really like people bringing it. It's not one of those games where you have to avoid Rillaboom, obviously, but it's not like previous series that we had where you had to avoid Rillaboom and a Venusaur, which was ever present. So now the Venusaur's gone down in usage, I definitely think the Gastrodon has more time to shine.
I agree, and Gastrodon has been such a great choice to see reappear in the meta because it's been used a lot as a counter to Kyogre. With that Storm Drain ability, able to grab, you know, those special attack boosts, and then if you're able to Dynamax it as well, maybe you get some Max Quake boosts for your special defense. But on the other side of the table, we have Aaron Zheng, and I know y'all that watch the Pokemon streams are definitely no stranger to this player and commentator, and you can take a look at the achievements that Aaron has gathered in his career in Pokemon. But, you know, he was saying yesterday that this is his first event back, and to be able to do so well and prove that he is still one of the top players in the Pokemon community is a really big deal to him.
Oh, he feels really good about it going forward, and I know he wanted to come back and push for that Worlds invite, so this is definitely a fine step on it. Obviously, he would want to go even further in the tournament and get more championship points to push in there, but he's been around for absolutely years. 2011, 2012, when he was back in the seniors division, picking up the US Nationals as was, back-to-back years, these absolutely huge achievements. Top 4 in Worlds in 2013, that very famous set that he played in, and he's obviously weaved in a regional win there as well, so he's really not slowed down. One of the most iconic players in the circuit, and I'm excited to see him push on, and honestly, I'm excited to see Aaron back playing. I love casting with him, I like working with him, but it's really cool to watch him play, because I know he puts in the time with his team. This is what he's decided to bring to this tournament. The Whimsicott, Groudon, Indeedee, Solgaleo, Charizard, and Mimikyu. There's a lot going on in that team, and when we looked at it yesterday, the Trick Room, just being able to set that up and push on was really well played by him.
Yeah, there's so many different tricks that we didn't even get a chance to see from this team even during his streamed game, but we saw at least 2 Trick Room users. Whimsicott has been known to have multiple tricks up its own sleeve, and it's been really neat to see how that Pokemon has been utilized not only for speed control, but also sometimes weather control, and I could definitely see that fitting into a team like this. But the other thing about this team that's really unique is that there are multiple ways to be able to support the big damage dealers on the team, whether it is through redirection, which is a thing that has been lacking on a lot of the Series 12 teams that I've seen kind of up to this point, but then also you just have a lot of ways to make sure that you do and indeed get the Trick Room off.
The one thing I have to point out about Aaron's team, I don't want to go in with a negative vibe at all. It does have a number of Pokemon weak to dark type attacks, and that could become a little bit problematic based on how the Incineroar on Chongjun's side has been assigned moves. That is the big concern, I think, on paper for me. And I know Aaron is a little bit... He's been testing the matchup pretty extensively overnight, is what I've heard. But he played it last night, did lose that match. He's got to dig deep and find ways around that option, potentially. You know, does he have a way to deal with the Gastrodon? It looks a little bit limited right now. No obvious big grass type attacker, and if he doesn't have a grass type attack on the Whimsicott, it's going to be a really tough time for him to get around it. So there's a number of threats that Chongjun can kind of lean on, I think, to really push the advantage. Of course, you have to be careful. You can't just let the Solgaleo run away.
No, and I think that's another reason why this matchup is a little bit difficult for Aaron as well, is because we did see that both of the Charizards that these players have brought do actually have access to max Rock Ball through Ancient Power. And the fact that Chongjun's Charizard is holding a Charty Berry makes it even more difficult for Aaron to actually take out that threat before potentially the Solgaleo could be taken out by that Charizard.
It's a tough one if you're Aaron, because even if you win the speed tie in, say, a Charizard matchup, you win that speed tie, great, but then you don't get the knockout because of the Charty Berry. That's a huge problem, and that's a huge loss of momentum that can come through. But no Charizard Mirror to kick us off. Solgaleo and Indeedee over on Aaron's side. With Charizard and Groudon, I'd say a pretty well-matched pair on Chongjun's side.
Yes, they definitely synergize really well together, but taking a look at what Aaron has on the field right now, Indeedee obviously has access to redirection, and Solgaleo could have access to Trick Room. So this is something that could be set up as a way of maybe being able to control the speed a little bit, but Chongjun is ready to go, is going to go ahead and Dynamax to kick things off here, and I'm definitely expecting that as a Gigantamax Charizard, and in fact it is, just to start dishing out some damage onto Aaron's Pokemon.
It's got a really good position to do it as well, staring down that Solgaleo. Yes, the Indeedee could maybe buy some time with some redirection, but it's going to take a whole lot of damage if it decides to do that. Aaron realizing the threat though and throwing up a Dynamax of his own.
Yep, that's going to be Solgaleo almost certainly getting the Dynamax factor as well. I mean, hey, it could be a Dynamax Indeedee, but...
What would you do if it was Dynamax Indeedee?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but it is going to be Dynamax Solgaleo right now, and then we will get a chance to see what these partners are going to be up to, as Indeedee just classically going for the follow me to redirect away anything that is going to be threatening the Solgaleo, and it is a G-Max Wildfire, so great call from Aaron to kick things off.
Getting the G-Max Wildfire down nice and early too means there's a lot of turns for that residual damage to come through and help out. The Solgaleo, though, throwing out Max Lightning in retaliation. Does have access to Wild Charge to turn that into what it needs to be, but it's just not enough damage against this Charizard, and the redirection is about to fall. It was going to fall at the end of the turn anyway from the G-Max Wildfire, but Groudon just tidied his up. This is dangerous, though, from Chongjun, giving the weakness policy over to Solgaleo.
Yeah, I mean, there's still an interesting decision here that's going to have to be made, and that is, you know, what does Aaron have in the back to continue to support this Solgaleo? The redirection is gone, and so the next most logical thing here, because Solgaleo is slower than that Charizard and is being threatened down by a G-Max Wildfire, is there speed control in the back that could help to really give Aaron the edge?
He's got to find something in this turn to put that Solgaleo in the position to start tidying up. It hasn't even touched the Groudon yet, which is going to be a bit of a problem going forward. The Groudon's going to start, of course, adding damage. But now you've got the weakness policy boost. The Solgaleo needs to do a lot of work. And if the Solgaleo doesn't get to move, say it gets hit by a G-Max Wildfire in the following turn, that's a huge loss of momentum for Aaron. This is an important turn. The speed control coming through, though, in the potential form of Tailwind from Whimsicott. I'm curious if Chongjun has anything to answer that, because if he does, it's definitely not on the field right now.
No, I really like the Whimsicott choice here, maybe able to set a quick Tailwind and then see whether or not the Solgaleo is going to be able to take out this threat. Could be going for another Max Lightning here, but then you also run the risk of potentially running that into a Max Guard and then Groudon continuing to just deal with the rest of the opposition.
If he goes into the Max Guard on the Charizard with the Solgaleo, then the Groudon hits another Precipice Blades. It's getting very dicey on those numbers. Just looking at where that health bar is, obviously there was some residual damage in there, but it's going to be close. Whimsicott, though, just getting to Tailwind for free, that's probably what Aaron needs to keep this Solgaleo going.
Exactly, so Solgaleo going to be able to max Steel Spike here. That should be enough damage to finish off this Charizard. And now the Gigantamax is over for Chongjun, and it is now up to the Groudon to try to get its work done through those defense boosts.
I love that choice from Aaron. Being able to Steel Spike, saying, okay, I'm going to make sure the Charizard is gone, so your immediate guaranteed knockout is taken away. But then it's going to be the Precipice Blades missing on the key target. Everything is going right for Solgaleo in that turn.
Yeah, the G-Max Wildfire residual damage is going to take that Solgaleo to a little bit of a dicey HP number, but with those defense boosts, should be able to survive another Precipice Blaze, and that's if it hits. Intimidate now coming through from Chongjun's Incineroar, but that full metal body ability still keeping that Solgaleo very, very active with its weakness policy.
This is a really big turn for Aaron Solgaleo. It's set itself up so nicely with the Steel Spike, so it's feeling pretty good. The Whimsicott, I imagine, is sort of out of the equation right now. Could just get faked out, doesn't really provide much of an offensive threat in this one. But the Solgaleo just needs to hit something for a whole lot of damage, and if he can get maybe another knockout here, that's going to push Aaron forward in this game. It is level at 3-3, but the damage down on the field is in Chongjun's favor, so I think for Aaron to be considered in the driving seat, needs to get something out of this turn.
Yeah, there's still one turn of Dynamax, and having all of your turns of Dynamax find value is going to feel very, very good here. No fake out, it's just going to be a Moonblast here from the Whimsicott, and the special attack of that Incineroar is going to fall. Not going to matter too much, but here comes the Max Quake from the Solgaleo into the Incineroar. You can go ahead and see that Shuka Berry get activated here to be able to mitigate some of that damage, but it's still going to secure the knockout.
Doesn't matter. Once that chip damage came through from Moonblast, I think there was a real obvious path that you would be able to get there, and Aaron definitely knowing his numbers. Doubling into the Incineroar, maybe banking on the Precipice Blades missing again, otherwise it's going to be in trouble, or Aaron feels confident he can tidy that up, but the Precipice Blades doesn't even get a knockout. Aaron's played this one so nicely, and I definitely say he's in the driving seat right now. The G-Max Wildfire, though, is going to start hurting.
No, it should be a double knockout next turn if the Groudon is not able to clean up there, but we are going to see the fourth and final Pokemon for Chongjun, and it is that Gastrodon in the back, and this is where we said things might get a little bit dicey for Aaron, and that is how does Aaron deal with this Gastrodon before this Gastrodon could potentially get set up here, or just deal with the opposition.
Chongjun's Groudon has been left alone all game, and if it grabs a Precipice Blades, yes, it's going to have to take attacks first, but if it hits the Precipice Blades on both, that's a double knockout. And from there, well, what have you got in the back that can answer the Groudon comfortably? Is Aaron going to play a Groudon Mirror? Is he going to play with the Charizard? But if Aaron's got the Groudon in the back, he's going to have to lock into a move, thanks to, of course, that Choice Scarf that we know about from yesterday. If you look into Precipice Blades, that gets really uncomfortable. And honestly, Gastrodon doesn't really care. So the choices get a little bit awkward, I'd say, for Aaron, depending on what he has in the back. The Gastrodon, though, wants to see what's going on before it starts making choices.
No, that Protect is really smart, and Aaron doesn't fall for it. Gonna go ahead and Moonblast the Groudon here, and let's see what this Solgaleo does as well. It's just going to be a Sunsteel Strike. That weakness policy is certainly going to help out the damage output from this Solgaleo as it finds its target in the Groudon, and it's not enough to knock it out here. Groudon able to fire back with a Stone Edge, knocking out the Whimsicott.
That is a very big play. I think Groudon just deciding, you know what, I just want to be able to land something and call the switch in. But Chongjun knew at the end of that turn, both of those Pokemon would have been falling to the G-Max Wildfire. So the Groudon just going really aggressive there, just trying to catch this on the way in. Aaron very lucky that he did not bring that in previously, because then it would have been getting very easily tidied up. There's a whole lot of work for this Charizard to do. I mean, the Groudon's easy to pick off with the very low health there. But you got to work through this Gastrodon, and this is not one of those Charizards that has access to a grass-type attack. Ancient Power, maybe looking for a boost here to see if he can close out the game that way.
No, Groudon is going to faint, but let's see what's going to happen here. It is going to be a Yawn. Electric Terrain is still active, but because of that Flying type, Charizard is not grounded and will not get access to that. Plus, the Electric Terrain is going to end here, but Tailwind is also going to expire.
Yep, all of the setup effects are just heading away at the end of this turn, and that just makes things really, really tough for the Charizard. Really limits his options, and I think Chongjun just has to protect, wait for this turn, wait for the Charizard to go to sleep, and then it can just take a turn or two to deal out the damage to it. So this one looking all but wrapped up. But Aaron, considering he said the matchup was hard, really got close. Maybe some of those, let's say the Groudon got knocked out, could have been a little bit different. But there's the Protect. Charizard trying its best in its last turn before it's time for a nap.
Yep. Still have a couple of turns, though, to watch this play out, but I think it's also going to be good information to be able to see what this Gastrodon is capable of. A lot of Gastrodon right now do have access to both Yawn and Protect to be able to cycle through those, but they also have access to 2 attacking moves, and it looks like it's going to be Ice Beam here.
Well, this is going to get a little bit slow, because with no Skull, giving up that for room for the Yawn or the Protect, you imagine it has to have Earth Power. That's pretty much essential on the Gastrodon. So not having Scald here, really making this a slow one. Maybe there's a world where Charizard wakes up.
Woke up, able to get the Air Slash into the Gastrodon, and...
Ooh.
Oh,
there it is!
Gastrodon flinches!
I didn't want to say it, but I see a world, and I know this is not the path to victory that anyone wants to see or anyone wants to take.
But sometimes you just have to, that's maybe how the cards have to fall here. Gastrodon is going to go for a Protect and just hope we wait out some of these turns as the Air Slash comes through, and that's basically what we're going to see here, is Gastrodon trying to weave in and out these Yawns to put this Charizard to sleep, deal damage to it, and Aaron is just going to have to make sure that these Air Slashes flinch the Gastrodon.
And he's got to get that recovery in as well. But Aaron has gone with my favorite method of buy a ticket to win the raffle. He's got to land these flinches. Charizard's health is going down. There's the Yawn, though, and I think that might slow it down. No flinch. Definitely taking it away from Aaron a little bit there, as the Gastrodon can just once again protect, recover up. And this Charizard's going to struggle. But the Charizard, you know, probably could take 2 Ice Beams, I'd say. Before, so just needs a very quick wake up again.
Yeah, let's see. It's going to have to take its mandatory turn of sleep after this one and will be affected by 1 Ice Beam. But after that, maybe Charizard is going to be able to get this done.
It's really all on the sleep turns right now, and it's not the finest way to end the game, but if it's another short sleep, Aaron is still very much in this game. There's the mandatory turn. Let's just see how much the Ice Beam does exactly on this turn. I think it's going to just require the 2. Yeah, another one will get it.
So it all comes down to this final turn.
Let's see if Charizard wakes up. We'll know right at the beginning of this turn where we're going. No dice for Charizard on this turn. No more Air Slashes, and the Ice Beam is going to connect. Wrap this one up for Chongjun.
Chongjun taking game number 1 of this best of 3 in top 8.
That game became a whole lot closer than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting to see the Air Slash flinch as the potential out for Aaron. I'm glad he played it. You know, it is the only out he had available at that point, and just needed to wake up. He did wake up first turn on the first Yawn, so really nicely done there to at least stay in the game and maybe show him a path to victory that comes a little bit easier in the following game. A little bit to think about. I love the Solgaleo, but what was very, very interesting was Chongjun gave it the weakness policy, and it still didn't feel like it did enough work.
Some of those could have been damage rolls as well. Maybe having critical survivals where necessary. But, you know, Aaron is one of those players that's incredibly calculated and also knows what those damage calculations look like. So it could have been an unlucky roll in some of those cases for where, example, we did see that Groudon survive on a sliver of HP.
That was tough. I mean, it was going to get caught anyway, but the Groudon just really struggling there. If Aaron had thrown in that Charizard as well, revealing the Stone Edge makes Aaron think twice maybe about bringing the Charizard. Note, he didn't bring his Groudon. So leaving one of your restricteds behind, actually both players doing it, the Zacian being left behind for Chongjun, means the rest of their team has to really pull their weight because they traditionally don't do quite as much damage. They're restricted for a reason.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is with the reveal of the Ice Beam on Gastrodon as well, you don't want your Groudon in that final position either when it is in that 1v1 scenario. But going into this second game, Aaron has multiple different leads that could come out here that could be really beneficial to him, but it also very much depends on what Chongjun decides to do. This is where it gets really difficult, and it really does come down to a potential turn 0 and what those leads look like.
I did really like the Whimsicott and Solgaleo pairing. It just made a lot of sense to me, and the issue I think Aaron is seeing is, well, if you know about it, and you know that the Max Lightning isn't going to get the knockout, you can't rely on that to beat the Charizard. It would be so nice to say, okay, just Tailwind, Max Lightning, knock out the Charizard, but it's clearly not doing enough damage. That is going to be the problem, I think, for Aaron, and that's something he needs to navigate. if he could take out the Charizard before it can G-Max Wildfire, I know it's a really big ask, but that G-Max Wildfire made a whole lot of difference. There was that turn where both Pokemon were low. Yes, the Gastrodon protected. Didn't matter. They were both going to get knocked out from the G-Max Wildfire, and that is why it is one of these prominent G-Max choices. It's just so good, but looks like we're getting a complete run back of the leads.
Now we're going to see the Charizard on the field here for Aaron this time around instead of that Solgaleo, but it is going to be the exact same here for Chongjun, relying on the strategy that was able to secure him that Game 1 victory.
We could have the fabled Charizard speed tie, but the factor that Aaron has in his favor is the Indeedee on his side is able to redirect an attack with Follow Me, which means even if he loses his speed tie, his Charizard may still be able to fire back towards Chongjun's Charizard. So this turn 0 is going to be a little bit curious, just because do the players, particularly when your tournament life is on the line, as we are in single elimination now, do you want to try for a potential speed tie and see whose Charizard is quickest? That's such a big ask, particularly if you're Aaron and you're down 1 in the set. I think Chongjun has a little more breathing room to play around that because he's already up 1 game. So lots to think about in this turn 0. I like the adaptation. I said the lead was a run back. I was wrong. It's Charizard over Solgaleo, but the Charizard Groudon, so established from Chongjun, so effective. Really nicely done. I like this change from Aaron a lot.
I do too. Again, you can't necessarily go for the knockout onto the Charizard because of that Charty Berry. We know that Aaron's Charizard is packing that max Rockfall, so we're going to need maybe a bit of an extra boost to that damage. But the one thing that Aaron's Charizard does have going for it is you're holding a Life Orb. So that is going to be an extra bit of damage on top of that. But we are going to see double Dynamax here right away in this game number 2 as Aaron Gigantamaxes that Charizard and Chongjun Dynamaxes the Groudon.
Lovely adaptation from Chongjun. If you think that the Charizard is going to have a tough time, you don't want to play this awkward mirror, you don't want to try and weave around that way, fine. Just let it do its thing and let Groudon take the focus and really run with the game and show what it can do in this one. But Indeedee, up to its normal tricks with the Follow Me. This is still going to hurt, though.
Yeah, it's going to be a one-hit knockout from the Blast Burn from the Charizard. And we're going to see a Max Airstream come out here right into Chongjun's Charizard. It is going to secure a knockout as well, so trades going across the board. But now it comes down to what this Groudon is going to get accomplished in this first turn. And I'm suspecting it's going to be a Max Rockfall. There it is. Is the Charizard on Aaron's side going to be able to survive this? And it is not. There is a huge Pokemon advantage right now for Chongjun.
Aaron did his best, and I think Aaron focused a little bit like I was thinking, that you had to win the Charizard matchup, but Chongjun flips it on his head and says, actually, I'll just win the whole turn by taking out the Whimsicott, not the Whimsicott, the Indeedee, my apologies, and taking out the Charizard. No Charty Berry for Aaron, knowing how good the Groudon can be and knowing kind of how unthreatened it was in that turn. Looking at that at the focal point, yeah, you gave up the Charizard, but you did a 2-for-1 trade over the course of the turn, and Chongjun in a really good position now. Gets to bring that Incineroar in. The Incineroar's Intimidate is going to stick on both of these Pokemon too, which is, it's not going to stick on the Solgaleo. It's not even get to Intimidate it. This Groudon can be just taken out the game. Aaron, very early in the game, at the point of turn 2, is now forced to make a decision. And that decision is, what do you lock into? I would not want to be making that choice this early on in the game.
No, especially knowing that there's still a 4th and final Pokemon, and if it ends up being that Gastrodon once again, then Groudon is going to have to lock into something that also looks into the future to see what that 4th could be and whether it's going to be a problem. This is also really tough because Groudon does get access to same type attack bonus, ground type moves, and that means that that Max Quake is going to be doing a ton of damage. So we will see the Solgaleo go for the Protect, maybe hoping that it is going to be able to get its weakness policy activated. And we will also see Aaron lock into the Precipice Blades as it does connect onto both Pokemon, but that Shuka Berry getting activated for the Incineroar.
And of course the Intimidate helping out there as even better. Lovely change up here from Chongjun, throwing down the Max Steel Spike just to get the defense boost. That's the core here. Both these Pokemon are relying on their physical attacks, so you're not giving over a weakness policy boost. You're just making sure that he could have Max Quake into the Solgaleo. The Protect would have helped out on the damage factor, and then you'd have been handing over a boost. But hey, just max Steel Spike, get your defenses up, maybe max Steel Spike again in this final turn, and then you're just able to tank those hits, tank those Precipice Blades so nicely, if they even hit.
Ooh, yeah, we're going to see a Precipice Blades miss here, but an Earthquake as well going to hit all Pokemon on the field. But we are going to see the Max Quake now from the Groudon, thinking that that one defense boost is enough, and also seeing an optimal target in that Solgaleo. And now Aaron is down to one final Pokemon, and it is that Groudon locked into the Precipice Blades.
That's not even quite hitting some of its attacks. This one just got really bad. That turn one is almost unrecoverable, I think, for Aaron. And the Solgaleo doing damage to the Groudon itself means this is even a knockout. That game really fast. Chongjun showing why he was the undefeated in this bracket. Taking down Aaron Zheng. He wasn't able to make the run back on day number 2. But Aaron said the matchup was going to be tough, and Chongjun really showed why.